We believe that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds had a plan from the very beginning to take control of It Ends With Us, and that it had nothing to do with Justin Baldoni. Their strategy was reportedly set in motion long before the project even began. In this video, we'll break down the step-by-step moves Blake and Ryan are believed to have used to gain control over the film, and why many suspect this isn't the first time they've pulled something like this. Blake didn't just show up to act. It appears she strategically positioned herself to take more control over the production, even though Justin had already secured the rights to Colleen Hoover's novel. Sound familiar? It should, because Ryan reportedly pulled off something similar with Deadpool. Ryan is said to have gained more influence over production, negotiated a massive back-end deal, and helped turn the sequel into a $785 million blockbuster. And it seemingly paid off. Ryan walked away with a $20 million base salary, plus an additional $40 million in profit sharing. Now, as we dig deeper, you'll see how Ryan has mastered the art of taking over productions, and how Blake is allegedly following those same tactics to reshape her career with a very clear motive.
And she was such a brat that she wanted to control every scene, wanted to see all the dailies, wanted to do her own cut and did her own cut of the movie. All this is very unusual for just an actress in the film.
But you can rest assured that based on the investigation we've done, the text messages we have, the receipts that'll go along with that complaint, she's dead in the water.
We believe that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' plan had 7 key steps. Blake Lively's first move in taking control of It Ends With Us was stepping into the production humbly, as just an actress. But as we dig deeper, you'll see why this was never the final plan. Instead, it was a strategic first step toward taking over the film. When Blake joined the project as the lead, Lily Bloom, most of the groundwork was already done. Contracts had been signed, investors were on board, and distribution was locked in. But here's where things get interesting. Blake reportedly agreed to a lower salary of $3 million. At first glance, this might seem like a sacrifice, but in reality, it was a calculated move. Because while she took a pay cut, she made sure to negotiate an executive producer credit. This title is often symbolic for high-profile actors, but it also gave her leverage over the film's production. Now, let's put this into perspective. Blake's $3 million salary was far below her usual earnings, but still massive compared to Justin Baldoni's reported $320,000 acting fee. The entire film had a strict $25 million budget, self-funded by Justin's studio, Wayfarer. Sony only joined later as a co-distributor. Now, why is this strategy familiar? Because it mirrors what Ryan Reynolds did with Deadpool. For the first Deadpool movie, Ryan reportedly accepted a shockingly low salary of $2 million, a huge pay cut for a superhero lead. But this wasn't about money. It was about control. By proving his commitment to the project, Ryan gained the trust of the studio and secured influence over the creative direction. And just like It Ends With Us, the first Deadpool movie had a modest budget, $58 million, significantly lower than other superhero films. This smaller budget gave Ryan and his team more creative freedom without excessive studio interference. So what does this tell us about Blake? Some believe she intentionally joined a smaller budget project like It Ends With Us, knowing that with less money involved, she could have a much bigger say in how things played out.
And it's just disgusting when you go after someone, you try to destroy their life. And actually the evidence shows something different. Blake Lively was no victim here. She was in control, she was in power, and she took over this film.
Step 2, wait until 50% of the budget is spent. This is where the real takeover allegedly began. Blake's second move was perfectly timed. She waited until half of the production budget was already spent, strategically putting Justin Baldoni's studio in a financial chokehold with no way out. At this point, replacing her would be impossible without destroying the entire production. But here's where things get even messier. She didn't just wait for the budget to hit 50%, she also let the production team fully exhaust the wardrobe budget for her character. Every outfit had already been carefully designed, selected, and purchased. Time, effort, and money had already gone into styling her character. And then, she completely disregarded the wardrobe team's vision and demanded a new wardrobe to match her personal preferences. This pushed the budget past its limits, forcing the production to spend even more money on new outfits. But Blake didn't stop there. She reportedly insisted that all of her new wardrobe pieces be delivered to her and Ryan Reynolds' home for fittings, racking up extra costs in logistics and crew time. At this point, tension started boiling over between Blake, the crew, and Justin, who had spent 5 years developing the creative vision for the film. Why didn't Justin just fire her? That's the question, right? If Blake was making all these unreasonable demands, why didn't Justin just replace her? The answer is simple. He couldn't. The film was self-funded. Justin had poured everything into this project. Half of the budget was already spent. There was no going back. If Blake walked away, the entire production would collapse. At this point, Blake had all the leverage. With the production backed into a financial corner, she was now one step closer to getting exactly what she wanted.
What Ryan Reynolds, has seemingly done, right, is used his power and influence to not only help Blake Lively take over this movie, but, he's used it, on Deadpool and to make fun of Justin Baldoni.
Step 3, take over the script. After conquering the wardrobe department, Blake's next move was to take control of the script, and for that, she called in one of her dragons, Ryan Reynolds. Yes, you heard that right. In a leaked text message to Justin Baldoni, Blake referred to herself as Khaleesi and called Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift her dragons, a direct reference to Game of Thrones' Daenerys Targaryen. This wasn't just a playful nickname, it seemingly implied that Ryan and Taylor played key roles in backing her decisions and influencing the film. And in this clip, we'll show you how Megyn Kelly breaks it down.
They have text messages in which Blake tells Justin, this is in the latest lawsuit, I know you've never watched Game of Thrones, but when you get around to watching it, you'll realize I'm Khaleesi and these are my dragons. And I have the best dragons in the business, right? Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. And what they're alleging is that, let's face it, none of us has ever heard of Justin Baldoni before this whole thing. I mean, who the hell is he? I guess he's in some small thing I never saw. But she's saying, F with me and we'll crush you. My dragons and I, the biggest movie star, one of them in the planet, the biggest pop star in the planet, and I will hurt you.
Ryan has long been praised for his sharp script writing skills and witty dialogue, especially for Deadpool. In fact, he was so involved in the script for Deadpool 1 that by the time Deadpool 2 rolled around, he had secured an official producer credit. And that's an important detail to keep in mind, because now he was helping Blake rewrite dialogue and make changes to the script, all from the comfort of their home. The problem? None of these changes were approved by Justin Baldoni, the film's director and producent. The official screenwriter wasn't even consulted. Ryan's involvement wasn't part of the original production plan. So why was Ryan so invested in helping Blake with rewrites? Well, as we'll soon uncover, this wasn't just about Justin. It was all part of a much bigger plan.
So the iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you now.
Ryan rewrote the rooftop conversation between Ryle and Lily, completely blindsiding the screenwriter, who reportedly had no idea and believed it was improvised. But the real power move Ryan and Blake allegedly used to force Justin to accept their changes was next-level manipulation. As you're about to see, it wasn't just about script edits, it was about control. Blake invited Justin to her home under the pretense of discussing some ideas and script revisions she had made. What Justin didn't realize was that the moment he walked through the door, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift were already there, immediately hyping up and praising Blake's rewrites. They cornered Justin, putting him in an extremely awkward position.
Well-founded that it's Taylor Swift, her BFF, at the Reynolds penthouse in Manhattan, where Ryan Reynolds allegedly bullied Justin so badly that a Sony representative who was there, the production team behind the movie, and her biggest takeaway was, I am very sorry that I let him get away with doing that to Justin. It was so nasty.
They pushed Justin to the point where he had to remind them that he was the director. But when her plan started falling apart, Blake switched tactics. She texted Justin late at night, expressing her disappointment, a move that seemed designed to pressure him. Justin responded quickly, sending a voice message at 2 a.m. And now, let's listen to what he had to say.
Reading the second part of your message, my heart sank. And damn right, you got great friends if that's how you felt and they knew that. But I just wanted you to know that I didn't need that because it's really good and it's going to make the movie sing like you said. And I am so sorry you have been through what you've been through with these other filmmakers and producers or whoever the people were that you worked with.
Justin ultimately gave in, allowing Blake to have her way, a major win that put her back in control. With that momentum regained, she was now one step closer to her ultimate goal, and for her next pivotal move, she had a bit of luck on her side. Step 4. Exploit the writer's strike. Despite the setbacks Blake had already caused, she allegedly saw an even bigger opportunity to solidify her control over the project, and this time, she used perfect timing to her advantage. With Ryan's experience in renegotiating his position in Deadpool, securing more creative control, and a lucrative back-end profit-sharing deal, Blake reportedly took notes and applied the same strategy. When the actors' and writers' strikes temporarily halted production, Blake seized the moment. Instead of waiting for filming to resume, she used this vulnerable time to renegotiate her contract for her return to work. And this wasn't just any renegotiation. She reportedly presented a list of 17 non-negotiable demands. Her conditions? Increased creative input, more oversight and control over key aspects of the film, greater influence in production decisions. Another calculated move, and one that allegedly brought her even closer to her end goal. At this point, Justin was trapped. Sony Studios, his co-distributor, was already invested. They had agreed to use their global reach, financing, and marketing power to ensure the film's success. They saw Blake as a critical asset for marketing. Meanwhile, Justin had already exceeded the budget due to Blake's continuous demands and changes, bleeding his personal finances into the project. Replacing her? Not an option. Losing her completely? Even worse. Blake had officially backed Justin into a corner, and she wasn't done yet.
The next thing you know, she took over the editing. She started making threats that she wouldn't promote the movie, that she wanted to be in control of marketing of the movie, that she would do nothing in terms of promotion unless she was the actual editor.
Step 5. Infiltrate the editing. Once filming finally wrapped, Justin thought he was free of Blake's influence. He couldn't have been more wrong. This time he wasn't just dealing with Blake, Ryan was now fully in the mix. Justin was about to enter the director's protected editing period, a critical phase in filmmaking where only the director and approved editors are allowed to shape the final version of the film. The entire purpose of this phase is to preserve the director's creative vision, in this case, Justin Baldoni's vision. But Blake had other plans. As part of her strategic power play, she demanded access to the editing room, setting the stage for what many believe was a full-scale takeover. And with Ryan, who has a proven track record of being hands-on in editing films like Deadpool and Free Guy, this was an easy mission. Blake requested access to the editing bay during the director's protected editing period, a time when outsiders are not supposed to be involved. But once again, she was granted leverage. She was initially allowed into the editing room for just 2 days. She then extended her access to 10 full days. And that's all it took. During those 10 days, she and Ryan worked to create their own version of the film. But they couldn't do it alone. Blake and Ryan reportedly replaced the original editors with new hires, including someone who had worked with Ryan on Deadpool. And Blake wasn't the only one making power moves. Suddenly, the film's original composer was fired. Why? Because Taylor Swift had allegedly worked with him before and supposedly had personal issues with him. It's rumored that Taylor pressured production to replace him with someone connected to Ryan's Deadpool team. With Blake's own version of the film now complete, it was forced to compete with Justin's director's cut.
For an executive producer to have a competing cut of a film is incredibly bizarre.
Both versions were tested with audiences. Justin's cut reportedly tested higher. But knowing Blake, this fight is far from over. And if history tells us anything, she won't back down until she gets exactly what she wants. Step 6, threatening to not promote. And this is when Blake made her most ruthless move yet. She reportedly gave Justin an ultimatum. Either her version of the film was chosen, or she would walk away from the project entirely.
But when she starts threatening people and saying, I'm not going to promote the film, I'm not going to do anything unless you use my cut, that's when it starts to be awfully incendiary.
My favorite part of what I've read of this suit so far is that Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. This is a book that's probably written at a second grade reading level.
Yeah.
But she didn't stop there. She allegedly threatened to take the book's author with her and refused to do any promotional appearances. This wasn't just a simple dispute. This was a brutal, calculated power play that could have destroyed Justin's career.
And it's just disgusting when you go after someone, you try to destroy their life. And actually the evidence shows something different. Blake Lively was no victim here. She was in control, she was in power, and she took over this film.
As the lead actress, Blake's presence in press conferences, interviews, and media appearances was crucial for the film's success. Without her, marketing would collapse, interest would plummet, and the entire project could turn into a box office disaster. And Blake knew it. She and Ryan were fully aware of their promotional power, and they allegedly used it as a weapon, holding the entire production hostage until their demands were met. On top of that, her complete disconnect from the actual story of the film, which, at its core, is about domestic violence and breaking the cycle of abuse, can be seen in how she answered this question.
But for people who see this movie, who relate to the topics of this movie on a deeply personal level, they're really going to want to talk to you. This movie is going to affect people, and they're going to want to tell you about their lives. So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could
Step 7. Steal producer credit. On top of everything, there was still one final move left, taking the producer credit. But before Blake could secure that, she had to make sure Justin was completely sidelined, starting with forcing him into the basement at his own film premiere.
And in August 5th of 2024, Justin invites the editors to the premiere, but they can't be in the same room with Blake. Justin replies, "We won't be in the same room. I was asked not to even come to the premiere." And the editors say, "It would be very hard for me to sit and watch the final film for the first time at the premiere." And Justin replies, "Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it either."
It have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life, career-wise. I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour. I wasn't allowed to be seen.
Now, here comes the bombshell. Listen closely, because you can't miss this part. This explains exactly why Blake and Ryan acted the way they did, because this was the plan all along. And now that we're laying it all out, it's painfully obvious. Blake went after a formal producer credit and sought recognition from the Producers Guild of America, PGA, which is insane, considering Justin was the actual producer, and she was originally just hired as an actress. But here's where it all starts making sense. To qualify for a PJ mark, a producer must meet specific criteria, and if you look at each requirement, it perfectly aligns with Blake and Ryan's step-by-step strategy. A producer must be involved in story development. Blake made script changes to check this box. A producer must hire key personnel. Blake fired Justin's editors and brought in her own people, including someone from Ryan's Deadpool team. A producer must oversee post-production. We already know how Blake and Ryan took over the editing room. A producer must contribute to the film's music. Blake used her connection with Taylor Swift to get her song My Tears Ricochet placed in one of the film's most pivotal scenes. A producer must help with casting. Taylor Swift allegedly helped cast one of her friends to play young Lily in the movie. A producer is expected to contribute to marketing. Blake and Ryan tried to cross-promote Deadpool 2 with It Ends With Us in hopes of creating a Barbenheimer effect. But here's where it backfired. Instead of keeping the focus on the film, Blake used her promotional opportunities to push her hairline and her beverage company. Here is one of the examples.
What an incredible summer you're having. I feel like you poured a lot into this movie, but then you turned around and you were just as supportive of Ryan. Yeah. What is it like to...
And my hair care company, Blake Brown, my goodness gracious. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy week. I haven't slept in like a lot of time.
At this point, it's clear. This wasn't just about acting. This was a calculated power move from the start. The fact that Blake tried to use a film about domestic violence to promote her hair care line and beverage company sparked massive backlash. People were outraged because the focus should have been on raising awareness about domestic violence. not turning the film's press tour into a personal branding opportunity. So why was Blake so relentless in chasing this PGA mark that she even forced Justin and his family into a basement at his own premiere? The answer is simple. This was never just about It Ends With Us. If she succeeded, this would completely transform her career, turning her from an underestimated actress into a respected producer, just like Ryan. And that would change everything. She'd be able to negotiate higher salaries for all her future projects. She'd secure back-end deals that would earn her millions. She'd take a percentage of a film's profits instead of just getting paid for acting. And It Ends With Us? It was the perfect stepping stone. Because just like Ryan took a lower paycheck for Deadpool 1 to get his foot in the door, Blake took a lower paycheck for It Ends With Us, but with one goal in mind: using her influence and status to take control of the production, just like Ryan did when he climbed his way up to become an official producer on Deadpool 2 and made millions. But here's the real kicker. This wasn't just about one film. Many believe that Blake and Ryan's true plan all along was to secure the rights to all of Colleen Hoover's books and build an entire production empire, controlling the entire book-to-film franchise.
Is there any
just
chance
exclusive.
that we could
I'm
have a
exclusive.
sequence?
Colleen Hoover.
What?
A chance that you can have a what?
A sequence, like it starts with this.
Oh.
I mean, if Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere.
Y'all heard her.
Which explains why Colleen Hoover stood by Blake despite all the controversy. In fact, Colleen even launched a new production company called Heartbones Entertainment, which could suggest that she was already working with Blake and Ryan on future deals. This could have been Blake's ultimate power move. With Ryan's expertise and her own status, she could have fast-tracked her way into becoming a highly respected, high-earning businesswoman and producer. But Blake seems to have overlooked one crucial detail. Because if she really sees herself as Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, well, she might have forgotten how Daenerys' story actually ended. Jon Snow took her down, and ironically, he wore a man bun eerily similar to Justin's. What do you think? Was this all part of Blake and Ryan's master plan, or did things just spiral out of control? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into Hollywood's biggest controversies.